The magnificent tiger is now considered one of the most endangered animals on the planet. As few as 3,000 could be left in the wild, but tens of thousands more are bred and kept captive in unsuitable conditions all over the world. But there is one place where perhaps you wouldn't expect to find 18 tigers living in a more natural environment. And that is the Isle of Wight Zoo, home to one of the largest tiger sanctuaries in Europe. Every morning, the first job for the keepers is to check on the cats and the security of their enclosures, and animal manager Charlotte has come to visit a brother and sister who live together.
Aisha and Diamond, youngest tigers in the sanctuary, been here since they were so big. In fact, when they arrived, Diamond jumped up and literally came to my knee. They were 3 months old.
As they were so young, Charlotte had to hand rear them. And years later, they still all share a close bond.
You can plainly see that Aisha trusts me. You know, she's got no qualms at all about coming up and having me in her space. It's a relationship that's developed and gets, you know, deeper and deeper. But you can see obviously that there's something between us here, which means that there's protection from, you know, what basically lies beneath the skin of these animals, which is, you could say, you know, potentially a time bomb waiting to go off in the wrong situation.
By just 9 months, tigers are capable of killing a human. So here at the zoo, security measures are very tight.
There's not a lot of room for error, and the fact of the matter is that if something goes wrong, it's probably going to go very wrong. It's most likely that there will be a fatal outcome. So we minimise human error. So the animal carers always work in teams of 2. And the golden rule is check, check and check again, basically. So they have to check locks twice. They have to turn signs round, no entry signs, as a visual sort of way of communicating if animals are in their dens or not. They are not allowed to speak, have conversations, because it only takes a split second of, you know, what you watched on TV last night or something, and you can just lose that concentration. They have a set of keys on them each in case they suddenly needed to shut themselves, lock themselves into a safe area. And of course they know the exact procedure to follow should, worst case scenario, a tiger escape.
This 20-acre site houses 16 enclosures, and sharing life with the tigers are lions and jaguars. The zoo has recreated the different habitats of big cats living in the wild. Most of the animals don't spend more than 2 days in the same enclosure. A sliding door mechanism means they can all swap around, keeping the animals stimulated and happy. But managing their movements takes great care, and it's not like this everywhere.
In America, where there are numerous and thousands of these high-risk animals being kept as pets, then obviously you're opening up a can of worms in regards to the likelihood of escape, where they're being looked after in insecure units, often by untrained people, just totally inadequate setups. And you know, people have died as a consequence, but often cats die too because they have to be destroyed if they're, you know, in a situation where they're going to be endangering people's lives, and just acting off the back of their instincts and out of territories they tend to feel insecure as well. They're not supposed to be in control of their instincts. They have, you know, no ability other than to basically act as a predator in those situations, and often just through pure fear and self-defense. And you know, these animals to us are are absolutely precious. They are our best friends, and it's for us to make sure they're not put in that same position, which would be, as far as we're concerned, unacceptable.
Big cat footprints are as individual as human fingerprints, and they're known as pug marks. But finding them can be difficult. The cats move at different speeds, in all kinds of weather, and over various terrains. And as they walk, their back foot comes over and often covers the front pug mark. Tiger prints can vary greatly in size. Usually, the males are much larger than the females.
There's also a difference in shape as well. With the male pug mark, there's a curve around. You could just draw a curved line around the end of the foot mark there. But with a female, her toes tend to be a little bit more pointed. And if you were to draw around the end, what you'd end up is something a bit like an inverted tick.
Last year, Tracy and zoo manager Greg used the pug marks to track tigers in the wild. The prints helped them to identify males and females.
And these are very fresh, so it's very, very recent.
You've only just missed her.
They're on top of the tyre marks, the jeeps that have been through.
Last 10 minutes.
Yes.
Today, Tracy is taking some cast of the pug marks for educational purposes. The visually impaired will also be able to feel the cast to get a better idea of the shape of a tiger's foot. It's going to be a little while before the plaster of Paris sets properly. Then they'll be able to compare the male and the female pug marks. Each of the sanctuary's big cats has its own unique personality, but the keepers have noticed that tigress Zarina is not being her usual self.
Zarina has always been a very feisty cat. You know, she has always been one of our more outspoken tigers, shall we say, and she's kind of shrunk into a bit of a wallflower over the last month, 6 weeks, and has caused the team real concern. It's really hard to accentuate just how much of a challenge it is when you're dealing with animals that you're not interacting with in the way that you are if you've got a house cat. You know, every day you're obviously feeling it, it's coming onto your lap and you're stroking it, and you know, you're watching how it's reacting to your physical contact and so forth. And it is really, really hard when you haven't got that physical contact with the animals, and they are not always an open book. They're wild animals. Their instincts are still very strong to try and pretend that all's A-OK when maybe it isn't.
Vet Ian Green has been called to investigate.
I'm going to be tranquilising her so that I can get a very good, physical hands-on examination of her. So that will allow me to examine her mouth, her head, put a stethoscope on her chest, get a good palpation of her abdomen, feel all her joints, basically give her a thorough clinical examination. Now, depending on what I find, that will govern what else I may want to do. For example, if I find something within her mouth, might need a little bit of surgery. If I can't find anything particularly, I will almost certainly want to go on and take some blood samples from her to run a few different checks on her internal organs. So it's always a little bit of an unknown when you enter this situation. What are we going to find, and therefore what will that lead on to?
Obviously, this is an intense time, is when we're actually doing anything intrusive to the animals. And it's never pleasant for us, it's never easy for us. These are our friends at the end of the day. But there is no other way to obviously carry out the investigations that we need to carry out today but to do this.
The anaesthetic can work in as little as 10 minutes, but Zarina is not the easiest animal to sedate. She's fighting the effects of the drugs.
She is now looking like she's starting to really go into the sleep that we needed to, so we'll be just testing her out in a moment.
It looks like Zarina is asleep, but Ian can't afford to take any chances. He needs to make absolutely sure before going into the enclosure. Now Zarina is sedated, Ian can give her a full body examination. In the wild, a tiger's lifespan is around 10 to 15, so at 14, Zarina is an old cat, and of course, this could bring health problems.
I can feel a lump back here.
Ian has discovered what could be a serious problem.
That concerns me.
At the Isle of Wight Zoo, 14-year-old tigress Zarina is under anaesthetic.
There is a lump there that I'm not happy with.
Zarina has been feeling unwell for the past few weeks, and vet Ian's investigation has raised a serious concern.
It's always difficult to tell because you're feeling other tissue around it, but it's certainly at least, tangerine size, but, with other tissue around, but it could be bigger than that. Now, so that could be bladder tumour, but it could be something in somewhere like the cervix, or the body of the uterus even. The only way we're going to know is with exploratory surgery. Okay.
Zarina has certainly had enough anaesthetic, but suddenly she starts to move.
Ian? Ian?
Sorry?
Right, everyone get out, quick!
It looks like Zarina is coming round from the anaesthetic, but actually she's having a seizure. Ian has to remove the tubes to avoid her choking. Once the seizure passes, Zarina should be okay.
I mean, she wouldn't have known what she was doing, when she was like that, but it can still be dangerous just from a reflex point of view.
Sure,
It's unusual to get an animal fitting when they are so heavily sedated, but it does occasionally happen. And sometimes it can happen because there's something bizarre happening with liver function or kidney function. Sometimes it can be that there's a little clot affecting the brain or something like that. So, I'm even more concerned than I was.
And what's the prognosis like?
Not good. Bladder tumours in carnivores tend, more often than not, they tend to be malignant rather than benign.
Zarina is going to need exploratory surgery in the next couple of days. The Isle of Wight Zoo is home to 23 exotic big cats. Most of them, though, are not pure species, they're hybrids, so they don't breed them. But this isn't true of the park's large collection of primates. Of the 5 species of lemur living within Lemurland, certain individuals are part of an important European breeding programme. And there's been some good news for the mongoose lemurs.
A few days ago, in the early hours of the morning, Sawyer gave birth. When we came in, she was going through labour, came in, moved the boys away, and about 2 minutes later, one last little grunt, one last little push, and we had a little mini mongoose lemur with us. Baby and mum seem to be doing fine. We've gone through the troublesome period, which is obviously the first 24 hours to check to see the survival of the youngster, but also because Sawyer is a new mother, and quite often it's not uncommon at all for after the first 24 hours for a new mum to reject their youngster, kind of like they're forgotten, they haven't had the practice, so there is always that possibility of rejecting the youngster. You sit up. I can see your little baby.
Both the males and the females are born with a white ruff, so it's difficult at this stage to determine the sex. If it's a girl, the white ruff will stay, and if it's a boy, the colour will change. But the keepers won't know until the baby's about 6 weeks old. But he, or she, has been given a temporary name.
The unofficial name at the moment is Bean, simply because she looks like, or he looks like, a giant baked bean at the moment. But when he or she develops a personality, we'll then think of a much more suitable Madagascan name.
The keepers will need to regularly check on the little one to ensure that it continues feeding and to make certain that the male lemurs don't become too rough. Little does baby Bean know just how important he or she is.
We're really pleased that this has happened. She's now, or he is now a number 113 in captivity worldwide. So that's still very low numbers in captivity. In the wild, their numbers were, when last looked at in 2006, were just over 1,000. But the trend for mongoose population numbers in the wild is decreasing. So it'll be the next count to see how low their numbers have got now. So it is very important that there is a successful breeding programme for these. Hopefully this little one now can play a part in the breeding programme a few years down the line when he or she's mature.
Back with Education Officer Tracy, and the pug mark impressions from male tiger Sultan are now set.
But it's dried out, we managed to wash it off, and now we can see it's a really quite nice pug mark, quite a good print. And then we also, for contrast, decided we would take one from one of our female tigers as well. So this is from Aisha. Aisha, her enclosure is a different substrate, so it's on a sandy surface, so we've got a different texture to it, but you can still see the difference in size really well. She's got quite dainty feet in comparison with Sultan's great big clodhoppers.
Aisha's pug marks are 11 centimetres wide and long, but Sultan's span 14 centimetres both ways.
These are both front feet pug marks, so the footprints from the front feet, and the front pug marks are much bigger than those from the back feet. The front paws are much larger. The animals use those when they're hunting to grab hold of their prey. And the back feet are much more for sort of propulsion.
The cats at the sanctuary come from a variety of backgrounds, including circus animals, pets, and unwanted breeding stock. But some were brought here because of the zoo's expertise in hand-rearing and fostering tiger cubs. One of these was tigress Zena. She's the zoo's only white tiger, and unfortunately, she now only has one eye. Eight months ago, Zena suffered from glaucoma. This is a disease of the eye where pressure in the eyeball damages the optic disc, affecting the vision. The pressure became so high it led to blindness, and Zena was in a lot of pain. The zoo's main priority is the animal's welfare, and an examination confirmed that removing Zena's eye was the best thing for her.
86. Wow. That's just over 4 times normal.
Although it sounds like a pretty horrific, thing to do to an animal, if you had a pet at home and it was in the situation that Zena was in, from a welfare point of view, this is the only thing that you can really do. And now we're left with purely a cosmetic situation, which is, as far as we're concerned, Zena's still Zena. She's still beautiful.
Today, Zena is fully recovered.
Wow, it's quite amazing to see just the changes in her. She's back to normal, probably better than she used to be. She's a real nutcase in the enclosure. She runs around there. You wouldn't believe it, a cat with one eye, the way she moves around. She's fantastic, actually. And it just shows you just how adaptive these guys are. With a human, I think, who'd be lying in bed whining about it. They just get on and do it.
Like all tigers, Zena can rest for up to 20 hours a day. But when she's active, 11-year-old Zena loves swimming, and one of her favourite games also makes sure she exercises her good eye.
We've got a boomer ball for her, which we're going to just drop in the water. And the idea is that she goes in for a quick dip and plays with the boom ball, pulls it out and interacts well with it, because she really likes having the boom ball. So a major part of her day we try and do is hide it every now and then again, so she forgets about it and then put it back in, and all of a sudden she's really keen.
Zena hasn't seen the boomer ball for a few days, so she's really keen to make her claim. And in true territorial fashion, she drags it off into her domain. But Zena wants to make just one last lap of her pond, just in case there's something that she might have missed. A rock concealing a camera has been spotted. And it looks like Zena has found another toy to go with her boomer ball.
Oh, brilliant. It's your equipment that got wet, not mine. And that's just shows you. That's a good demonstration of someone who's far better than before. She can still work wonders. How much is it going to cost us, by the way?
The Isle of Wight Zoo is home to 18 tigers, making it one of the largest tiger sanctuaries in Europe. Every day, the zoo's staff have to keep the big cats mentally and physically stimulated. And they do that with different foods, objects and props. Today, they're going to work with tigress Zena on a game which will use all of her muscles and her predatory instincts. It's tiger tug-of-war. 6 of the female keepers are going to take on the 12-year-old tigress to see just how strong she really is.
What's going to happen is Zena's going to come out, all right, and she's going to grab the meat and she's going to pull back. So you guys have got to anchor yourselves to reinforce it. So what we want is a little bit of, you've got to fight, all right.
While the girls get prepared, Paul attaches some prey to the end of the tug-of-war rope, which should spark Zena's interest.
These guys are damn strong, so Zena's going to come out. She's going to grab the meat. She might choose that. She might choose a leg, and then she's going to just pull back. Hopefully, we're going to get this type of reaction when she gets her mouth around it and she pulls. That's right. Carry on like that, big boy.
The prey is secured to the 15-metre rope, and Zena is let in.
Okay, Charlotte.
Zena quickly spots the new addition to her enclosure. And the moment it starts moving, her instincts kick in.
Get. Right, there she goes. Hold it.
She grabs the prey and holds on.
Right, come on, girls, ready? Hey! You've made it!
In the wild, the tiger's powerful limbs and flexible backbone help them to chase their prey over short distances. But it's their strong jaws and teeth that enable these hunters to catch and feed on their victims so successfully.
Basically, she's just waiting for a response from us. We can't do anything because she's holding everyone back. It's just a matter of time before she decides to let go. And we grab the meat and run, and then we just got to let the rope run and then just try to hold on for a bit to see if we get another response out of it. It's just a matter of waiting. She could just run with it if she wanted to. It's a matter of just seeing what she does. Girl power. Yeah. Girl power, yeah.
Zena lets go of the rope for just a second.
Come on.
giving the girls the chance to try and pull again.
Okay, give her a little bit of slack, like shoot. Okay, she's gonna pull back. Just give her a little bit of slack. Give her a little bit of slack. She's gonna work for it.
The 6 girls on the other end of the rope are simply no match for Zia's powerful jaws.
Yeah, go give her more. Let her run with it a bit, and then you guys can pull.
Okay, 1, 2, 3.
This is actually a full-body workout for Zia. As well as her jaw, she's using her neck, her back, and her leg muscles.
All right, let's let her slack again. Let's just relax a bit, all right? But hold on to the rope, because she's gonna decide to get up and pull back. So we'll just see what happens. She's taking the rope with her now. The whole challenge of it is trying to outthink the cat, because you're dealing with someone with phenomenal amount of strength, you know, that's behind it. So the next thing is to tackle one of the males, and that'll be really interesting. See just exactly what we're dealing with as well, because they're probably going to react far differently than what Zia would do.
The Isle of Wight Zoo is best known for its big cats. But also living here are primates and a bunch of creepy crawlies and reptiles that live in part of the zoo called Jeepers Creepers. One of them is an elderly iguana, Ian.
Put your tongue in. Put your tongue in.
Of late, he's been feeling out of sorts, so primate supervisor Lisa is nursing him back to health.
Ian, a few months ago, suffered an infection in 2 vertebrae of his spinal column. And what this was doing, it caused an infection which causes swelling, and that was pressing down on his spinal column, which effectively paralysed his back legs. He's been treated for the infection, but the problem with reptiles, their metabolism is very, very slow. So what would be a week course of antibiotics for us isn't with reptiles, it's months worth of treatment. The infection through the last X-ray has gone down, so there is now no reason for his legs to be paralysed. But because it's been months, he's now got muscle wastage in the back of his legs. He's got the use back, so we're now starting just to help him build up his muscles in the back of his legs. And through the vet advice, it was in the water, because it will relax him because it takes all the weight off his body, and we can slowly start working, trying to get the muscles in his back legs going again. Isn't it, Ian? Yes.
Now, iguanas are very good swimmers, but in the wild they don't choose to spend that much time in the water. They only tend to take a dip to seek protection from predators.
He seems to be enjoying it quite a bit at the moment because he's new to it. We're giving him the water treatment every other day, but he's having work done in his legs every morning to see if we can get some use of his back legs. He's now getting more of a kick back in his back feet. So it is slowly working, but it's just such a long process with reptiles. It's quite relaxing for me as well.
More and more people are keeping reptiles as pets, but medically there's little known about them, so they're difficult to treat. For Ian, though, the hydrotherapy seems to be working, and at the end of the session, he gets to enjoy his favourite pastime.
Isn't that nice? Normally we come out and he can have a sunbathe with us, because obviously they thoroughly enjoy the sun, and then it'll be back home for him.
The zoo cares for 23 big cats, and the staff's main aim is to keep them healthy. But unfortunately, illness is inevitable. Tigers are extremely good at masking poor health, but the keepers noticed something wasn't quite right with 14-year-old Zarina. There were no obvious symptoms, but she'd lost her spark.
I take my hat off to the team, you know, certainly for recognising that there was something amiss, because we just sense instinctively in our gut, you know, she's just not Zarina, she's not right.
Vet Ian Green was called to examine her. Unfortunately, he found what could be a serious problem.
I can feel a lump at the back end of her abdomen here. It's certainly at least, tangerine size, but, with other tissue around, but it could be bigger than that. Now, so that could be bladder tumour, but it could be something in somewhere like the cervix. The only way we're going to know is with exploratory surgery.
Today, Ian is back to operate on Zarina. It's a tense time for everyone. If she does have a tumour in her bladder, it could prove fatal. Operating on the cats needs to be done on site, and there's an added pressure because vet Ian has to work in a makeshift surgery.
Ian's absolutely fantastic, and he approaches everything in his work very methodically, very sensibly. There's always a degree of calculated calm about the situation with Ian, but it is a big job for him, and not something he's going to take lightly.
As soon as Ian opens Zarina, he finds the lump. And it's massive. But it's not in the bladder, as he feared.
Bladder's down here and it's tiny. OK, so the mass is in her uterus. My worst fears were that I would find that the mass that we'd felt in her abdomen was going to be a bladder tumour, and the majority of bladder tumours tend to be nasty and inoperable. That was my worst fear. Thankfully, that's not been the case, and the mass that we were feeling is a mass in the body of her uterus.
It's been a tough week for us all because we didn't know this morning is that the last time that we're going to be seeing our friend basically, alive. If Ian had found that the tumour was in the bladder and it was inoperable, then obviously it would have only left us one decision to make, and we'd already discussed that.
The mass appears to be confined to Zarina's uterus. Ian now needs to ensure there are no more lumps and then decide what to do next. At the Isle of Wight Zoo in the medical room, vet Ian Green has found a huge mass in Tigress Zarina's uterus. He now needs to ensure there are no further problems.
Quick feel as far as I can forwards. Anything else? Anything abnormal? Okay, nothing abnormal within reach. And there's no evidence that it's broken out through the wall of the uterus, which is good as well. Sometimes some tumours will break out through the wall of an organ and then seed all around the inside of the abdomen, but there's no evidence that it's done that.
Ian can't find any further lumps, but there could be a problem with one of her ovaries.
See the difference in size between two ovaries? This is her right ovary and that's her left ovary. Okay, so there could be something abnormal in there. A lot of tumours, uterine tumours and things are severely hormonally influenced, and so it may be that whatever's going on in this ovary is pumping out abnormal levels of hormone.
To everyone's relief, the mass is confined to her uterus, with the exception of a possible tumour in her ovary. The best option for Zarina will be to have an ovariohysterectomy. This means removing her uterus and her ovaries.
It's all removable, and we've got the potential for curing this animal.
A biopsy will need to be sent off to determine whether the mass is benign or malignant, but with the lump fully removed, Zarina will hopefully make a full recovery.
A tiger's not just a tiger, and everything that makes up Zarina is on that table basically, and we know what there is to lose. It's not just another tiger, it's Zarina, and Zarina to us is an individual, completely unique like every other tiger here. She's our friend at the end of the day and we love her to bits, so we're looking forward, we hope, keeping our fingers crossed, we're looking forward in the next month or so to seeing her back to her usual self, bossing everyone around and generally keeping everyone in check. So yeah, we're really hopeful that with the right aftercare, that in a month's time we can report that everything's, you know, back to normal.
Zarina's going to need at least 2 weeks of bed rest to allow the wound and herself to heal. And while she's on the road to recovery, across the park, there's bad news for the zoo's newest addition. The baby mongoose lemur has sadly died. Mum Sawyer was the perfect mother for the first 4 days of the baby's life. But on the 5th morning, the keepers found the infant alone on the floor. For its own safety, it had to be taken away and hand-reared.
Lisa took Bean home in the evening and was feeding every 1.5 to 2 hours around the clock, small amounts and often, to get the nutrition in and rehydrate the little thing. But unfortunately, in the early hours of the morning, we lost the fight for the baby. Things deteriorated quite quickly during the course of the night, and you know, with something that tiny and that young, then really you're living on a knife's edge basically when you're trying to hand raise. And it was, you know, it was kind of expected in a sense, but obviously we were hoping for the best as well. So we're all feeling pretty sad today.
A post-mortem revealed the baby was a boy and had died from an abnormality in its throat. This meant that he couldn't swallow properly or get nutrients into his stomach. Now, in the wild, mongoose lemurs' numbers are dangerously low, so it's vital they breed in captivity. And of course, whilst it's very sad that this little one didn't make it, Charlotte is confident that Sawyer should have another chance at motherhood.
I think she really did try her best to get that baby on board, but there was, you know, a defect there, an abnormality in its anatomy, which was disallowing it to actually to live. Basically, at the end of the day, there's nothing that either we or the mother could have done. We're very much inspired to continue with this group, and we will definitely be allowing them to breed again. And fingers crossed, this time next year we're going to have some more positive news of a baby that actually survives. This was, you know, it was one of those things. Basically, these things happen, bad luck. But yeah, I think it will be the case that next year we'll have hopefully another mongoose lemur that we can be welcoming into the world.
Tigers need to kill to eat. But in the wild, only around 1 in 20 of their attacks are successful. This, however, doesn't stop them from trying to catch their prey. But before a big cat attempts an attack, it will stalk its victim. It's an important behaviour for all of these types of animal, and something the zoo encourages.
A cat, when it stalks, essentially it's using what it can to get as close as it can to its prey. Because quite often in the cat world, the cats, 90% of the time, don't run as fast as the mammals that they catch will run. Other predators might actually cause the animals to run and drop dead of a heart attack after 3 hours of running after it, like a lot of the canine species will. But cats don't. If they don't hit the prey within the first few metres, they'll give up because it's not worth expending the energy to catch a prey item that's going to run faster than you. So they really need to catch it in the first few seconds of the ambush exploding out onto the animal.
Once the cat has caught its prey, it uses its powerful jaws and claws to keep hold of it, just like Sultan is doing. He's a large male. Now it's his turn for a game of tiger tug-of-war, with 7 of the keepers.
Okay, let him go, let him go, let him go.
Let go.
Okay, pull.
A tiger's canine teeth can reach 3 inches in length, and 1 bite is enough to kill its prey. Their claws can be 1.5 inches long, and they're as sharp as razors. Unless a tiger wants to let go of its victim, it doesn't usually get away.
What it's doing is working all his core muscles, you know, right down from the
the muscles that are on the claws, all up his legs, you know, his abdomen, his back, his neck. It's his jaw muscles, every little bit of muscles working, even the movement of his tail, you know, is helping him balance and getting his grip. All right, let him go. So it's all working really quite well from that point of view. Okay, let's hold him. All right, you guys ready?
Yeah.
Okay, go.
Sultan weighs an impressive 40 stone, but male tigers can reach up to 50 stone and have the traction pull of around 15 men.
Right, straight up. Okay, let it go. Let it just go. Give me a bit more slack. Okay, all right, hold, tug.
This is a perfect way of encouraging Sultan's natural behaviour. He's worked hard for his prize and he has no intention of letting it go. But it seems the keepers aren't going to give up without a fight either.
What he's doing now is probably what they would probably do if an animal starts slowing down, stops kicking and fighting. It's just his response to it. So he's holding on and watching his tail flick as well. It's all sort of body language, how he's feeling. He's all hyped up and quite worked up about it, so it's quite cool. It's a bit of a game of cat and mouse, and we're the mouse, definitely.
The keepers are simply no match for this big male. As well as being much stronger than the 7 people, Sultan has found another way to ensure that the ball stays with him.
Oh, he's clever. Oh, yes, he's clever. What he's done is he's jammed the ball behind the one log, so he gives himself a nice point of leverage. So it's going to be really quite hard for us to get the ball out. So the best thing we could try and do, is if we give him as much slack as possible, and actually let's see if he actually releases the ball, and then we're going to try and pull it in as quick as possible so there's a bit of movement as well.
Sultan is getting tired, so the keepers make their move.
All right, 1, 2, 3.
But it seems he was just having a well-deserved break. Sultan is the clear winner.
Yeah, that's his prize, and you know, more so. So it's his reward at the end of the day. Off he goes with it, and we can give him a nice big supper tonight as well, because he's earned it. He's worked hard for it, so it just all works out really well for tigers in the end of the day. Yeah, feels like they've done a hard workout, and I just need to go and have some lunch myself.